everybody.
Hi,
Welcome.
hello. Oh my goodness, this
this?
one's just rolling in.
It sure is. Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Lots of new names.
Hello, hello. Good to see everybody.
Some familiar names, I see.
Yes. Hi, hi. We're going to give it a little bit
faces
for people to get in, say hi, get comfy. Oh my goodness. Hello, people just joining. Hello,
yes.
Welcome. Good to see you.
Yes. Oh, I see some really cool backgrounds. I'm gonna ask what that is later. It's just kind of hanging, like at the top of this, like decorative. Like, it's not a bag, right? But it looks like some kind of
right.
Imagine you just made a bunch of bags and then you just string them.
That would be so cool. A whole collection. Hello, hello. We're excited to see everybody. We have a lot to get to, which we'll start in a little bit, but we'll give it just a little bit more for people to join.
Let's hit this chat to the side, make sure we don't miss anybody.
Yeah.
I see the comments rolling on in. Feel free to put some emojis in. That was fun the last time.
Yeah, it's always cute to see what people say and where they're coming in from.
Where you're coming from, how you felt about the project, things like that.
Aww.
We've got Indiana, Washington, California, Wisconsin, Virginia, Kansas.
Nice.
More Wisconsin. Wisconsin
awesome.
Representing today.
Yes.
Chicago, Texas, New York.
Hello.
There we go. I'm seeing it.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Good to see you all. All right, we'll give it just one more minute for everyone to get settled.
Yeah,
pull up the chairs. They say
people right now.
Awesome. Oh my goodness. Brooklyn in the house. That's awesome. Canada, Washington. Wow. Thank you all for joining us. This is so exciting. Can't wait to celebrate our finished dumpling bags, but I think we can go ahead and get started here.
Yeah, it's the cast-off party. Is that what I forgot what we called it?
Finished object party.
Finished object party. There we go.
Yeah.
For the longest, I was like, what does FO mean? I kept seeing FO on Instagram and things like that.
I'm gonna
Let me go ahead and spotlight. Thank you.
Yeah. And let's get started. All right. Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to our finished object party for our Dumpling Bag Knit-Along. My name is Margaret. I'm the social media and outreach coordinator at Purl Soho, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jaja, who's our customer service manager, to run the Zoom and Knit today. We also have our moderator team. We have Lily from our customer service team, Gianna from our design team, Kat from our customer service team, and Allie from our e-commerce team. So thank you guys for helping us. They'll be in the chat saying hi, helping with your questions. So we always are so appreciative that they can join us.
Yes. And thank you guys for coming in, for helping the moderators, you're helping us by writing in and asking questions, because then we got to see what people most were curious about, how we can make patterns more clear for the future. I feel like this was the most clear knit-along we've had so far, which is really fun. It was more so add-ons, additive type questions. And speaking of add-ons, I saw so many cool photos like coming towards the end. People were starting a little slower this time around, but towards the end, I saw with lining, I saw stripes, I saw intarsia, I saw all kinds of, I think some embroidery. There were some really cool ones that people added embroidery onto it. Just the most creative updates of the pattern, it was super creative, and that was really fun to see, especially because linen, a little difficult to work with, to see people really just go out of the box and just push what this fiber can normally do was really impressive.
Yes, it was so cool to see what everyone came up with. I mean, that's the fun of a small project, is you get so much more time to really customize and think about new ways to do it, or go crazy with the experimentation and try new things. So you can start one, make it per the pattern, then the next one you can change it up a little, see what else you want to try. It's a lot of room for fun. But we're going to cover some things today that we didn't get to cover at the first Zoom and Knit, to kind of deal with the end of the bag. So we're going to talk about Kitchener stitch and the 3-needle bind off. We're going to talk about blocking and weaving in ends. And then we are going to announce the grand prize giveaway winners. We do a giveaway with each knit-along that the prize is Purl Soho gift cards, $1,000, $500, and $250. So we'll announce those winners a little later on. And we're also going to have a Q&A section if you have any lingering questions. And then we'll do our show and tell as well to see all those amazing bags. So that's what we've got on the docket today.
Yeah. And then did you want to mention the sneak peek at the end?
Oh,
Make sure
yes.
you stay in for that sneak peek at the end.
Definitely stay to the end because we are going to give a little sneak peek at the next knit along, what's coming along. So stay around to the end. We'll talk about that for a little bit. But for now, it's dumpling bag time.
Yes. We're all keeping an eye on the chat, but just a reminder, because I don't think I mentioned it last time, but if you have a question, it helps to put it in the chat. If you direct it to everyone, though, that would be great. That way we can set them aside and answer them in order, because sometimes people direct message myself or Margaret, and I can't promise that we'll see it or be able to respond in time. So just make sure you put it there, and we'll save them and collect them for the end when we do the Q&As.
Yeah. And we are also recording this session like we usually do. If you don't want to be a part of that recording, you can mute yourself and turn off your camera. We completely understand. But we'll upload this to YouTube once it's done processing. We normally take about a week to process it, and then we'll get it uploaded on YouTube. So you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel to be notified when that goes live. But I think let's go ahead and get started. Let's jump into some demonstrations.
Some demo time.
I'm going to switch around our spotlights real quick.
Yeah, I'll take myself out for now, but I'll do the next one after you.
Cool. We're going to see. There we go. I'm going to switch over to my document camera. We're going to start talking about Kitchener stitch. That's the first thing we have up. So we use the Kitchener stitch quite often in this project. We'll use it to join the straps here on the top of the bag, and then you also use it at the bottom of the bag to create a new row of stitches between the stitches that were held with your scrap yarn at the provisional cast on. So this swatch is right where we left off from the last Zoom in Knit, which is we just pulled out the scrap yarn that was in the provisional cast on. And now we have stitches live on our needles again. So for reference, this is going to be the bottom of the bag. I have scrap yarn for me here to continue this to be another project, but for demonstrations, we're going here. This is the bottom of the bag. And then another little thing I like to recommend as we're getting set up, ready to do Kitchener stitch, is to put a stitch marker halfway, a removable stitch marker, halfway around the needles. That way you can make sure you have your stitches equally separated between the front and back, and you kind of keep yourself on track. It's really helpful to have that divider on there just as like a little reminder to yourself. So yeah, then what we're also going to do is this is where you use that 2-yard tail. So when you started your bag, you would have left the really long 2-yard tail. I kind of bundled mine up into a little butterfly. For demonstration, I'm going to use a different color of yarn to help see what we're doing. But just so you guys know, to help figure out where you're at, this is where you're using that 2-yard tail. So Kitchener stitch is a great way to graft together 2 sets of stitches. And instead of just sewing the existing stitches together, this is actually going to create a new row of stitches. So it's going to create a new layer of like these V-shaped stitches, which creates a nice kind of like curved shape at the bottom of the bag. Some things that might come up with this are tension, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And also it's kind of easy to lose your place. So I have a nice little mnemonic device to help you remember how to stay on track and not lose your place in this. So there's 6 steps with Kitchener stitch. And the first 2 are unique steps that you do just for the first, just starting out. And then the last 4 steps are the 4 steps you repeat. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I have my long tail here threaded. This would be your 2-yard tail that you left. So we have our front needle here and our back needle here. We're holding them just parallel to each other. I'm going to slide my stitches down so it's a little easier to play with here. And then the first thing that we're going to do is work with the front needle, the first stitch, and we're going to thread this through as if to purl. And we're just going to leave that stitch on the needle. I'm going to pull this through just a little bit. There we go. All right. Then the next step, step number 2, is we're going to go to the back needle and we're going to thread that on as if to knit and leave that on. right through here. Now, if you're doing this in Blackbird linen, which you might be for this bag, sometimes the yarn might get a little like kinked or tangled, and it might be kind of hard to pull it through. Just go nice and slow. That's my best recommendation. But if you need to, you can steam the yarn itself if you have a steamer, and that helps to smooth the yarn out so it'll pull more smoothly through your stitches. So that's just a nice little tip if you're having trouble at all. Okay, so we did our first 2 unique steps, and now we're going to start this series of 4 that's kind of our flow. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to this front needle, this first stitch, and we're going to go off as if to knit. So we're going to insert here. I did that wrong. There we go. Insert as if to knit, and we're going to slip this stitch off the needle and pull this through. And I'm holding on the stitches with my fingers so that they actually stay on the other stitches that we didn't play with there. Then we're still on the front needle here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go on as if to purl. So we're going to leave this stitch on and insert as if to purl. And we've got a tangle already. It happens. Just got to keep everything straight. There we go. All right, so now that was steps 3 and 4. Now we're going to the back needle. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to slip this one off as if to purl. Just like so. And then the next one will be on as if to knit. So it might get a little tangled or weird looking here. My best advice is to trust the process. Just kind of let it go for a little bit. Then we'll come back and tug on these legs to help redistribute everything so that it's nice and even. So we're going to leave that just for now. And we're going to repeat those 4 steps again. So first thing we're going to do, off as if to knit. So we're going to go on the front needle, first stitch, off as if to knit. Pull it off just like that. And it can kind of help to encourage these to lay one way. And then the next one we're going to do is we're going to go on as if to purl. So purlwise like that. Then we're going to go to the back and we're going to do off as if to purl. Just like so. And then last one will be on as if to knit. So there's a little song I sing to myself when I do this, which goes off as if to knit, on as if to purl, off as if to purl, on as if to knit, which that can help you go through this process. So here's what we kind of have. I'm going to try and line this up. Like I said, it kind of is a little silly here at first, but then we can start tugging on the stitches to help distribute the tension. Just like that. Oh, I didn't grab all of that. There we go. And that way you can kind of see those. That's one of the first V's we have right there, which creates this curved bottom of the bag. So it's creating a new row of knitting right there between the stitches. So, all right. I'm seeing some chat saying that it's a little too low. Let's see. Hang on just a second, everybody. Let's do this. There we go. All right, let's do that again. I want to make sure that. There we go. Shasha's back.
I was accidentally muted and I was trying to say sorry.
There we go. Okay, let's do it one more time, a little bit more centered so we can see it. Thanks for calling that out, everybody. I appreciate it. All right, so we're going to do off as if to knit. So insert our darning needle into the first stitch here, pull the needle off as if to knit. Just pull right off like that. There we go. Then the next step is going to be on as if to purl. So we're going to leave this stitch on our needle, thread it in purlwise. There we go. And then we're going back to the back needle now. We're going to slide that first stitch off as if to purl. Off like that. As if to purl. And then this is the part that is just a little fun.
I think you're bringing it down a little bit again.
Yep, there we go. And then the last step is we're going to do on as if to knit. All right. Helps to do a couple iterations of this to really see what we've got going on. We can kind of see here, I would insert my needle into these legs of the stitches and kind of pull on them. You see how much slack came out there by just tugging on it? That will help create a nice smooth seam.
Somebody just asked, can you thread it first, then pull the stitch off? Yes, you can do that.
Yes, absolutely. We just tug on this a little more. This is a super helpful technique to use, just tugging and redistributing this tension for many knitting techniques, not just Kitchener stitch, but it especially helps here to create a nice edge. There we go. I'm going to do that one more time because I know Kitchener stitch can be a little challenging, so we're going to do that one more time. So
I also wanted to note somebody's comment just now. Bent tip tapestry needles really helped. The first time I did it on a pair of socks, it was accomplished with a straight darning needle.
wow.
I too feel like bent ones are a little easier to work with for Kitchener stitch in particular.
Definitely. Totally possible to do it with straight, but bent does help.
Yes.
All right, so first thing we're going to do off as if to knit. So I'm going to try threading it first and then pulling it off just to show what that looks like. Here we go.
Sorry, that's a little pup jingling. I don't want to mute myself again just in case, because it looks like if I mute myself, then there's just a little technical issue where I can't go back on.
Okay. Next
Let me
stitch.
know if it's too much. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine, Jaja. Next one is going to be on as if to purl. Just leave that on. Then we're going to go to the back, off as if to purl. So we're inserting purlwise on that back stitch. And something to watch when you do it this way is to make sure that this doesn't catch on your needle and that it actually stays in line with your stitches that you've been working on. Because now we have to slide that last stitch off. There we go. And then the last one would be on as if to knit. In the back here, on as if to knit. There we go. Oh, and see that thing just happened where it caught on my needle. So we want to be careful about that so we don't create any extra stitches because that'll throw off our math here. That's part of the reason why we work with an even number of stitches for this bag is so that you can do Kitchener stitch with it divided equally in half. But there we go. You can see our new row of stitches right there, looking pretty happy. And it creates
to see the V's in the alternate color.
I know, right? It really reveals itself nicely if you do a contrast color, and that could be a really cool design choice if you wanted to do that for your bag. But yeah, that's how you create the Kitchener stitch along the bottom of the bag. Now, let's say you forgot to leave a 2-yard tail, or for some reason you're like me and you want to demonstrate or use a coordinating color. Jaja has some suggestions for how to work with your project if you didn't leave that attached 2-yard tail. So I'm going to pull her back up here. Go.
All right, so I did this on my first example. On my first time, I missed the instruction to leave the 2-yard tail. So this is my original tail, thinking, oh, this is great. I don't have a bunch extra, and then realizing later, oops. But not to worry, it's okay. You should have more than enough yarn to cut off a 2-yard tail at the end. So what you want to do is, this is about 2 yards for reference. I measured it out with a little ruler, 72 inches, for those of you that don't want to convert. You want to put it, if you're doing Kitchener stitch, onto a tapestry needle. And I would start about here. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but you want it the right side. This would be, and what you're going to do is, sorry, real quick, the tail, you would leave the original tail, you're just going to leave on the side and weave it in normally at the end. From here, you can go ahead and bring it all the way through. I believe the setup is purlwise, right? And stay on,
Yes.
Margaret? Thank you.
The first unique step is
yes.
on as if to purl.
And you're going to want to pull it until you have enough of a tail to weave in at the end. That's comfortable. I like to do 6 to 8 inches for this one because it's linen. I really wanted it to be minimum 8 inches. I don't measure it exactly, kind of with my eyes. I'm gonna keep going. It's still going. Just doing it nice and slow because you don't want to work too quickly with the linen itself. It's just really slippery. I also, unlike the rest of this bag, wasn't able to watch anything or listen to music when I'm doing the Kitchener stitch. So I just like to really focus, go into another room because I don't trust my husband not to start talking to me. So,
right.
Just in another room. So you leave about as much for a tail, and then you'll do the next setup, which I believe is knitwise stay on the back.
Yep.
So just going to pull it through. And the reason you want to pull all this through first is because you don't want it to get tangled and you want to be able to weave everything in normally as you would at the end. Yep. So that's just the example, but I also want to show if you wanted to do the 3 needle bind off, what you would do. So I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of undo that real quick. Let's do the reverse. Because we haven't shown the 3 needle bind off yet. And look at that, I went too fast. There we go. We're okay now. But when you do the 3 needle bind off, you actually have to turn your yarn inside out because you're going to want the seam to be showing on the inside. Otherwise, you're going to have a really blocky seam on the outside. That's just not as pretty. So you're going to want to turn it inside out. Carefully. My straps are still undone, so this is a little just hold on to those ends.
Yes.
I'm glad I held on to the ends because normally I just would have turned it inside out and I definitely would have lost it at that point. There we go. We're safe. So again, we're going to leave our regular 8-inch tail, that's more than 10-inch tail, maybe at this point, to the side. We'll weave that in at the end. And you're going to want a 3 needle, hence the 3 needle bind off. That's why it's called that. I'm going to go ahead and get the 2-yard tail that I set to the side. You aren't going to need a tapestry needle for this. And for that, you're just going to want to knit as you normally would, where again, you leave about, I like to leave about this much of a tail for weaving in ends. I guess I could show it here. I was going to show it on the other thing. Here's something you do want to avoid if it is at the, just now because of the way I undid it. I have 1 stitch here, another stitch there. I'm just going to put this back over here so it's oriented correctly. There you go. That's correct now. And I should have done, I just saw Margaret's tip today to just put the 1 part in the half, the stitch marker. Oh, yeah. Yes, we go. There's so many notions. A marker halfway through so you can see once you're getting close to the end and make sure you're lined up correctly. So I believe there's 100 stitches. So you'll want 50 on one side and 50 on the other. But I'll just go ahead and do it in this example.
Yeah, the 3 needle bind off is an alternative for the bottom of the bag. So we don't recommend it for the straps, but we do recommend it for the bottom if you prefer that.
Yes, and then for this, you don't have to worry so much about losing your place. It's pretty much, I like to think of it as like knitting 2 together, but the 2 are on different needles. So I have a little taut. I put my 3rd needle knitwise and then knitwise through. Let's make sure I got this right. The 2nd, I'm going to bring it a little closer to the tip. And then you're just going to want to yarn, well, not yarn over. You're going to want to pull that yarn through both. Bring it off the needle. This first one's really loose, but that's okay. Then you're going to want to do that again because we're binding off. We're not just knitting. So very tricky in the linen. So I'm just going really slow. Taking it off. So I have 2 stitches here. And you can just bind this off normally now. I like to use the front needle. And you're just going to pass this stitch over. You can tighten it up by just pulling on the working yarn. And you're good. That's how you do the 3-needle bind off. I'll do it again. A couple more. Can you see that okay, Margaret? I'm trying to look at my needles
great,
rather
Georgia.
than the camera.
Yeah.
So I'm not kind of double.
A 3-needle bind off is very similar to a traditional knit bind off. There's just an extra needle. That's all.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're just kind of knitting these two together, sliding it off, passing the stitch over. Yeah, and we can already start to see, again, it's so loose, but the seam is going to be on the inside this way. That's why you're putting it inside out. So it'll be nice and tidy once you reverse it. But yeah, that is the 3-needle bind off. I was going to show it on the other one, but if you do have, go ahead. Yeah, why not? Go ahead.
Yeah, go for it.
Let's do it. I'm going to put this on here temporarily because I'm going to need the 3rd needle. But I have my much cooler bag that I saved for this. Of my
very pretty
that I started. Thank you. So this is the right side. I actually did, since this was the second one, I left the actual 2-yard tail. So this is what it looks like if it is connected properly.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna pop it inside out. I have stitch stoppers, don't have to worry at the time. And you want to align it so that your needle points are going to the right. Does the 3rd needle have to be the same size as what you're using for the project? I would recommend that or one size up if you happen to be a really tight knitter. Like I tend to go a needle size up, but whatever you use as a 3rd needle is going to be the gauge of the bind off. It's always the right side needle that determines that. So this is a US 5, I believe. Is that what we use for this project? Yes. So this is a US 5, and these are also US 5 circulars. I like a double pointed needle just because I happen to have a set, and it's easier to just bind off without too many cables in the way. So for this side, looks like my tail's already towards the back. I can just tighten it as I normally would when I knit. Go in knitwise in the 1st needle, knitwise in the 2nd needle. Is a little tight, so I'm going to bring it up a little closer and let that autofocus again.
I've definitely noticed that once I do a couple of these in the 3-needle bind off, I come into a nice rhythm that feels a little bit more comfortable. My tension evens out. It's the first ones, and just getting going can be a little tricky, but totally doable.
Yeah, I'm finding this one interestingly more difficult than the 2-yard one that I had set aside. I think because I was kind of starting fresh. There we go. I got it.
Okay, yay.
It's a darker color, so it's also a little harder to see, but we have one stitch there. Then I do another. But yeah, agreed totally that once I'm a few, 4 or 5 in, also it's not as loose and hanging off around here.
Right.
But I try to keep it. If you're doing this, I do have this issue where I feel like one needle tends to go back and this one tends to go up. So just realign, reset yourself before you're ready to do it.
That's where that removable stitch marker will come in really handy, because if your needles are moving around while you're working in this, whether it's the 3-needle bind off or Kitchener stitch, having that stitch marker will really help keep you on track. You could even use a scrap piece of yarn.
There you go. Yes, scrap pieces yarn is great when I just can't find my million ones that are just lying on tables all around. Yep. Sorry, I feel like I'm doing the thing again where I'm just bringing it close to my actual eyes and not the camera. So you get the gist, but I'll do one more.
Yeah.
I'll struggle through one more for you guys. Here we go.
Yep.
This is much easier when you're doing it in a thicker yarn for the examples, but I wanted to show you guys in Blackbird linen so you could actually see what this process is like.
And your tip of using a slightly larger needle for that right needle or the third needle is quite helpful. If you're finding that it's too tight, that will really help. But I would suggest that more if you were using this for something that needed to have a little bit more give. I feel like at the bottom of a bag, it can be more gathered, but it's knitter's choice.
Yeah, this is really splitting a lot. So I'm going to stop there before. I think we have the idea though, but you see this is going to be the edge on this side.
Yep, it looks just like a traditional knit bind off where you have those, it almost looks like a crochet chain of those interlocking beads. But yeah, no matter which edge you go for, the Kitchener stitch or the 3 needle bind off, it's both of them will do the trick.
Okay. Sorry, I'm seeing Denise's note about the screen. So definitely we're going to try practicing that more in the future. Apologize for that, just to hold it up higher so that we're not down here and just doing it off camera. That's defeats the purpose of helping.
Right.
But, yes, but were you able to see that for now?
Yeah.
Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to add spotlight, and we're going to talk about, you finished your project, you've done Kitchener stitch or 3 needle bind off, and it's time to finally block your bag. So this bag and Blackbird linen in general takes really well to blocking. I highly recommend blocking this project. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. This is what it looks like finished and blocked. If you have pins will really help to kind of keep everything laying flat, like we talked about last time, finding the seam right along the top, helping that lay flat, keeping your straps nice and wide and to the measurements. This is, if you really geek out on blocking, this is your project, because the linen naturally tends to curl, but blocking will help everything kind of smooth out, lock in. We do have a tutorial for this. There are many ways to block this bag. You can follow our how to hand wash a sweater tutorial, which I believe one of our moderators will put the link for that in the chat. You can steam block this bag. That works really, really well. Just use a handheld steamer. And you could also machine wash this yarn. So if you wanted to do that, if you did go that route, I would recommend washing your bag with very similar colors, so as not to get the dye on anything else. But you could also use a color catcher with your machine washing this to help absorb any excess dye that may come off. But anyway you go, definitely recommend blocking your bag. And I wanted to show, because we did have some questions about weaving in ends in the Blackbird linen. So I wanted to show that real quick. Switch to my document camera here. I have this little swatch knit up in Blackbird linen with one end left to weave in. Well, I guess 2. I just cut my yarn in the middle of the project to show what it looks like when you have this, these ends to weave in. So there's nothing new here for weaving in ends in linen. The only thing I would recommend doing with linen is weaving in the end farther or more than you normally would. So if you would only go, up and down a little bit here, for if it was a sweater in wool, I would maybe just kind of fill in more space or do double the amount of space when you're weaving in an end. So there are many ways you can weave in ends. You can do the duplicate stitch method of stockinette stitch, or you can just float along the purl bumps in the back. But I just wanted to mention that you can, I do recommend weaving in the ends a little bit farther than you normally would. So like for this one, I would just crisscross these seams and then keep on going. Just like this, you can catch those purl bumps. And then instead of stopping right there, I might do a zigzag back down and then another zigzag up and down. And then when it comes time to block, that will really help secure your ends and kind of pat them all together so you can't see the ends and the ends don't disappear on you. Oh, and it looks like Jaja has.
Yeah, I wanted to go ahead and show just how many times I went back and forth. This is the wrong side of mine for the white, and I really just made sure to go multiple times over an inch just to
Yeah.
really make sure it was in there. And you've got my little thing sticking out, but that way I feel like it always comes done a little bit once you block it. So more than less for
Yes.
this.
Yep.
Yes, but that's how much I like to do it.
Definitely. And that'll also be especially helpful for what Jaja was showing earlier. If you didn't leave a 2-yard tail and you're using a new piece of yarn, weaving in your ends extra will really help secure that. But yeah, nothing really groundbreaking or new here, just a little bit more. And we do have a weaving in your ends tutorial that is in the chat currently if you wanted to check that out. So yeah, but those are all the demonstrations. Oh,
That's it.
I'm reading in the chat right now. Can you put the ends in after you block so you have more ability to shape the piece when blocking? I would suggest actually weaving in your ends first and then blocking, because the blocking will really help secure that end. You totally could do that, but I would recommend weaving those ends first, then blocking.
One thing you could do is that you can weave them in first, but don't cut any extra.
Yeah.
And that way you can like adjust it even more if you find that you still need to move it around after blocking.
Yeah. And it looks like we have a question from Lori Jaja to show the other side of the, I'm guessing the white, where you're showing where you weave in those ends.
Sure. So the other side, like where I wove it in for the red.
Yeah. Like if that's the wrong side that we're looking at, you can show the right side. Yeah, we're looking at
the wrong side. Oh, we want to see the right side?
Yeah.
Of the how it's woven in.
Yeah.
You can't even see it. Like if you really spread it out, you can see it, but once it's blocked, that's how I like to weave in my ends. I go over and under, kind of like weaving, actual weaving, you know.
And blocking will really help too.
Yeah. That's generally how I do it, but you can see it a little more like this, where if you're looking at it like that, you can't really see it unless you're really up in there.
Yeah.
But that's the right side.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think it's time to, drumroll please, announce the giveaway winners. So let me get back on screen, and I think Jaja is going to announce the giveaway winners. So exciting.
Let's get this list up. We're going to announce it a little differently this time. There are technically 2 different giveaways, one for simply entering the contest and a separate for every time you send us a picture into the knit-along@purlsoho.com address. And does it also
upload a picture on Instagram?
Yes.
Or uploading on our gallery?
Yes, those all count as entries into 2 separate giveaways that we have. So we're just I'm gonna name out all the ones that receive the $250 gift cards, $500 gift cards, and the $1,000 gift cards. So starting up with $250, the winners for that, the first one is SEAMES1@gmail.com, KMasterson2000@yahoo.com, Gail Bergen @rogers.com, Tara Weissmiller. Sometimes we have emails, sometimes we have names. @beare.patch, Carrie Graber, Jonna Papajohn, and Jen Gagley. One thing I wanted to say before we get to the rest of them, that if I do say your name, I apologize about this. If you could raise your hand, we'd love to see you if you're here so that we can show you a little later. I believe we're doing that before Q&A, just so we can. Oh, okay. Already seeing one. Thank you. Thank you.
We'll call you up once we're done announcing them all.
Thank you. Yeah. Next up, we have the $500 winners. We have Lauren Ripley, Elizabeth.hare@gmail.com, Anna Poncinelli@gmail.com, and Else Prue@gmail.com. So those are the $500 winners.
Yay.
And then the $2,000 winners. I know
the
we already
$1,000 winners.
Yes, thank you. The 2 separate people, each winning $1,000 gift cards. Cindy Rethmeyer and Lindsay Burke.
Congratulations, everybody.
So
if we called your name, please feel free to raise your hand. We'll call you up on the screen and say hi.
Yes.
That's super exciting.
I know there's some people, I believe people have already been contacted if they did win. But if you're just finding out now, that's fun now too. So welcome. Congrats. Hi, Diane.
Hi.
Oh, do you want to ask to unmute?
Oh, I don't think we can hear you. You may need to change a microphone setting. I believe you're unmuted.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the thing.
If you click the up arrow by the mute button, you might be able to change your input for your microphone. But congratulations.
Yes.
In the meantime, congratulations.
Yes.
I still can't hear you. No.
No.
Oh,
But for sign language.
Look at your bag. That's so cute. I love it.
Wait.
And you find it too. Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
Oh,
and a pocket too. Oh, that is
1, 2,
fantastic.
3.
Oh my gosh, a little project bag.
That is perfection.
That is so cute. I wish we could hear you, but thank you. Yes. Congratulations.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much for showing this.
Thank you.
Okay, right. We think we're going to do the Q&A for now.
Yes. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We'd love to answer them. We're also available over email if you have any questions we don't get to today. But if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in there. Happy to answer them.
Yes, and I do want to say, I did see earlier somebody mentioned that I forgot the name. I don't see it in the questions, but it was more of a comment where they appreciated my sandwich analogy in the last 2 minutes because it helped them with the straps. So I'm glad that helped. I think it was Joanna, if I saw the name correctly, if I remember. But thank you.
I think that was about having those edge stitches on either side of the strap, thinking about them as like a sandwich, like the ends of a sandwich.
3, so that you don't have to memorize it, or it's easier to memorize. Okay.
Yeah, that's such a great way to think about it.
Speaking of, we have a strap question first. Patty Catalano, I'm still working on the straps. One thing that's seen an issue was that we end up with the stitch that just slipped off in row 2 on the straps. That means the tail we left comes from the second stitch on the needle, so it seems awkward doing this set of stitches from the thread. We are doing the stitch which starts the second stitch back. What am I doing wrong? Also, I assume we use the 15 inches tail to attach the straps. It's not working out for me to have enough of the tail.
Oh, okay. So that's kind of a 2 question here. But yeah, I think I want to talk about carrying the yarn for the next row of the straps first, and then we'll talk about the 15-inch tail, 16-inch tail for the Kitchener stitch. So the straps are designed to have something very similar to double knitting at the end. So the sandwich we were just talking about, those edge stitches of the strap that help it to lay flat and not curl up, because if this was just stockinette, it would kind of curl on you and not hold its flat shape. So these stitches at the end create almost like an I-cord along the edge to help provide some structure. So the reason why you're kind of pulling the working yarn from the second stitch to the first stitch when you do that return row is to help create this reinforced edge along the strap. So it's not it shouldn't be too wonky. If it is, feel free to send us a picture of your work and we can discuss it over email, customerservice@gmail.com or at purlsoho.com. But that is a design feature to create some structure in the straps. As for the Kitchener stitch for the straps, if you're finding you're not having enough yarn to finish off this Kitchener stitch, one thing I would definitely recommend is grabbing your end of your knitting needle or your tapestry needle to kind of pull on the slack of those stitches of each leg of the new Kitchener stitch, so that you can kind of help yourself have more yarn to work with, at least for that strap. And then the next time, leave a longer tail if you find you're using more yarn than what you used in the last one. So yeah, that should help, but we're always available over email if you're finding it's not working for you, or we're happy to help. So you're not alone.
I was trying to set it up, but having a little trouble with my stitch holders just to show like about how much of a tail you should have and what that looks like visually for the straps.
Yeah.
There we go. 1 second.
Okay.
I've got you.
Yeah, I really like the edge of these straps. It really creates a nice border for the straps so that they maintain all of the hard work you did when blocking the bag. So
yeah, and I think it was last time we mentioned that the it's essentially double knitting that I-cord.
Yeah.
There we go. I'm going to switch back to my document.
Okay.
Real quick. I'm not going to actually show the Kitchener stitch, but just this is, I just took it off some. Oh, we're still inside out. I'm like, why does this look so strange?
There you go.
That's not, okay. Oh no.
Uh-oh. Did we lose
some drop stitches? That's okay. One just should not panic as much anymore.
In the meantime, I see a question asking, would the 3-needle bind off work for the straps? It would create a little raised bump there. If you like that, go for it. Maybe the seams are kind of a special part of your bag, like go for it. It would totally work to function to seal that strap to the bag, but we do recommend Kitchener for a nice smooth seam there.
I've done something terrible.
So okay.
Fix that later.
All right.
But coming back around to this, this would be the tail. And I don't believe, so this is where you would have been, what's the word, carrying the yarn up the sides. Mm-hmm. So it is a little weird and wonky around this side when you're first doing it because of the slip stitches, but it does even out and it does look more normal after you block it. What you do when it is time for bringing it to the other side, this is about my 15-inch tail here. And this should be more than enough for the Kitchener stitch once you're combining it. I like to always do the rule of 3 of just, you should have enough to have the width of it 3 times and a little extra. So 1, 2, 3, and then enough to weave the tail in. So 15 should be enough. If you're finding it is still just not, that's where it would help to have the picture at the customer service at purlsoho.com address. We can help you out.
Yeah, we're always happy to help. But what other questions do you have for us, Jaja?
We have knitting with the linen was a challenge. Let's go back to my face because yes, it unravels. It's also rough, but that's not what she said. 1 second. I'm looking at everyone's project and all the stitches look so even. I had a hard time keeping an even tension. It was like knitting with wire. Any suggestions? I definitely had to go down a needle size for mine. I feel like that was one thing. There are a lot that looked really loose. Even like while I was knitting it, I recommended going down a needle size, but also you could, I'm forgetting words. You can technically, if you haven't wound your yarn yet, if you've already wound it, this is a little harder. I think it's better to block it afterwards, but you can technically block the skein before knitting with it in order to soften it. We just recommend not taking the ties off until it's actually, submerged and dries out. But you can just, before winding it, just take it out, lay it in a basin that you would for blocking, let it dry out, to stretch, and then block it. And that should help make it a little softer and your stitches will look more even as you're knitting with it.
Yeah, another thing worth considering is, like Jaja was saying about blocking, is this bag has been blocked. When you haven't blocked it, remember my swatch that I had over here looked really kind of lacy and open and not very even. This is not blocked, so keep that in mind too. There is a difference after blocking. Things smooth out a lot with this yarn. So that's just another thing. But yeah, there's a lot of other gauges that this bag can be knit at. So if you're really not having a great time with Blackbird linen, we encourage you to try a different yarn. Like there's a bunch of fun yarns out there. Like we've seen some bags in our linen quill, which is a little bit softer, and you can hold that double. That would be really fun. So there's gauge isn't as important for this project, so you can kind of have some fun with it as another idea.
Okay, we have a couple more questions
Yeah.
from Lisa. I haven't closed the bottom of my bag yet and was wondering if using a perforated purse bottom is an option. I've never used one before, so I wasn't sure if it could be used in the dumpling bag. Thanks in advance and happy knitting.
You could if you wanted to.
Yeah, that would be really, we haven't tried it either, so
yes.
We don't have a pattern to recommend, unfortunately, but I think you absolutely could for this.
Yeah, so you could also put those stitches back on your needles, and you would have to create your own pattern for this, but you could try and knit a flat bottom or like a curved bottom from those stitches. Like maybe follow like a hat like shaping for the crown and follow that for the bottom of your bag. But yeah, you could do something fun with it if you wanted to. I think that would be really cool. And if you do, send us a picture because that would be cool. Yeah. And it would be a bigger bottom for the bag if you were using it as a project bag to put your skeins of yarn in. That would be cool.
I see people asking what pattern did you use? I see multiple people asking for the way to divide the dark from the light halves. This is just some color work that you can do with some graph paper. I'll show my bag again real quick. I believe just in order to modify it, I think I needed a 6-stitch multiple. So I just went ahead and I cast it on 102 stitches instead of 100. And then I just bound off 1 extra stitch on each side that did not include the straps. So I think it was 19 instead of 18. And I don't have a pattern for this, but just like across the 6 stitches, it's basically just, if you can kind of look it out, I would get some like Excel or graph paper and you can just kind of see where I just alternated the white and the blues. If I did it again, I would do it a little differently, I think, just to make it a little more, say another extra blue on this side. But that was kind of the fun of it, just kind of testing.
It looks so pretty.
I wanted to do more, but honestly, I was concerned about the inside and putting things in it and getting caught. And I wanted the dumpling bag to still be usable. So I think that's why I wound up not doing it for the rest. But I did use Tina's idea to make the strap another color just to give it a little pizzazz.
That's awesome. That was such a great idea.
What are the little blue stars? These are some stitch stoppers that I found on Etsy. They just keep your yarn from falling off your needles. They have little holes that you can just click on the end of your needles. I think those are the only questions we had today.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I think it's perfect time to start looking at everyone's bags. I mean, we've waited long enough. I want to see everyone's bags. There's so many cute ones out and about. So if you have, if you want to come up and show us your bag and talk about the project, you can raise your hand and we'll put instructions in the chat so we can talk about if you need help raising your hand.
Yes.
Josh is going to go ahead and get that started for us.
We're going to go ahead, and I see one hand raised at least, a very familiar face, but we love to see her. Let's add that spotlight. Hi, Tina. Let's ask her mute. There you go.
That work? Let's see if we can hear you.
Here's some sound.
I'm trying to get my picture up so I can see what you're seeing. Okay. I would say I love the pattern, and I pretty much stuck to the pattern. I didn't really deviate, like add more stitches or do something different. But what I found was the bags, they looked the stitches were not even when I made my bag. And even in the Kitchener, they'd be wonky. So I really tugged on it. I mean, I tugged on it and I tugged on it, and I'd get my straight needle, and I'd for some odd reason, the stitches kind of looked sideways. So I'd just poke in the middle of it and they'd come out even.
Nice.
So, I mean, I don't know if that'll help somebody else, but I went across that line and I tugged both ways, sideways and up and down. And I manipulated it, and then I put it in a lingerie bag, and I put it on gentle cycle.
Yep.
And I mean, it was spun.
Yes.
And when I took it out of the lingerie bag, boom.
Yeah.
Everything was even. I couldn't believe it. I'm shaking it up and down, and even the bottom. So my blocking, honestly, was done in the washing machine.
Amazing.
And then I just laid it out on a towel, maybe stretched out the straps a little bit.
Yep.
But basically it came out ready to use. So I didn't I think the spin cycle really stretched all my stitches into place.
Yeah.
And then on some of the bags, I did actually when I was inside there, I left a really long tail. So you know how you have your purl bumps and you can follow them in and out?
Yeah.
I went ahead and I just reinforced the bottom by taking that tail and going all the way across the bag and then securing the end. So
Awesome.
even though it's Kitchener with
Like a float
weaving.
almost. Yeah.
Yeah, so but really the bag that I didn't do that extra bottom is as strong on the bottom basically. So the extra reinforcement, I could do it or I could not, either way.
Yeah.
I was
Linen
happy with the bag.
It's such a durable, like sturdy fiber. So you can really tug at it, like you were saying, to put things into, the right position and it'll bounce back. Like it's really sturdy. So yeah, you can have a lot of fun making this bag exactly what you want.
Yes.
And I love all the colors you did. They're so gorgeous.
How many did you make?
Yeah.
In total?
These are going to be gifted. This is already doing holiday gifting project.
We love
it. I thank you. I already have 5 to gift.
Oh my
5?
god.
Okay.
Wow.
So, yes, I would say I like the tricolor, but I love the solid. The solid is really pretty.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
anyway,
beautiful.
thank you. I enjoyed the KAL very, very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much, Tina.
Next up, we have Dawn. Hello, Dawn.
Hello.
Let's unmute you. Oh, sorry. There's always a first step to ask to unmute first. I think you're free now.
So I did mine in a cotton because
yes.
My friend Diane, who won, she's in California, I'm in Utah, and we do Zoom knit-alongs together, but she introduced me to it a little late. So I was like, I just have to use something.
That you have on hand so you can try it.
I also lined mine.
Oh my gosh.
Wonderful.
I think our plan.
And another pocket.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, there's a pocket. Yes. Because we did plan to use them as, I think, project bags. So we thought things are just going to work their way out.
Yes. Can you tell us a little about how you lined it?
Yeah.
So I laid it on a paper grocery sack. After I blocked it.
Yeah.
I just traced it and left a little extra length for the handles.
Yeah.
And then when I cut it out, I just kind of cut it out at like 1/4 inch.
Seam allowance.
Okay, for some seam allowance. Yeah.
And then sewed it like you would like a project bag, just the bottom and the sides, stopping, for the sides here. So when I sewed up the side, because the handle just went straight up, right? So you kind of have to stop.
Yeah.
And then do that part.
And then I sewed across, and then like when I turned the bag inside out. That was a tip from Diane because she had been ahead of me in lining.
Okay.
When I turned it, I put it on inside out, and then this side, the short side, was just right, the length. So I was like, "This is good." And the long side, I had to like re-sew it 2 or 3 times.
Oh, okay, just to align it.
Yeah.
But then I just tucked it under by hand. Like I did it as I went, and we had the clippies, those little clippies that you can use for fabric, all the way around. There was probably a good 50 clips on this thing. And kept it inside out while we sewed it.
Okay.
So because that made it easier to really see your edges. And then we kind of just inside, and we did, we picked up a little bit from this. I say we because we were talking and doing it together.
Yeah,
that's right.
And picked a little from here, and then you went into the seam where you had folded it under. So on these straps, I don't have an even amount folded on each side. I just did whatever worked as I came to it, because that's what worked best. But it turned out really nice, and you just have to be real careful to do a little bit of extra on right here so that it lays down nice and pretty.
Yeah,
gotcha.
I'm so glad.
If you don't get 3, so if you're going to line your bag, if you don't get 3 like right in here, you'll get a little gap there.
Okay.
You're lining in that little edge.
Yep.
Otherwise, it was simple and a pretty easy project. And let's use if you don't have paper bags, tape some. You could tape a few sheets of printer paper together to trace it.
Yep.
Smart. Makes sense.
Oh,
Thank you so much for sharing the techniques.
I love it. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And enjoy your project bag.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next up, we have. Here we go. Oh, I don't think I did that right. Sorry. I just sorry. But sorry, can you help me with this?
Yeah,
Margaret,
it
I think
looks
I
like-
just pinned her instead of adding a spotlight.
It looks like, Susan, I think we're trying to call you up, but it won't let us spotlight you. Oh, there we go. That might change it. There we go. I think you needed your video. Awesome.
Here we go.
Hi. Let's see.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hello.
Hi. So my sister lives in Arizona and I live in Oregon. And the two of us enjoy when we are able to get together, working on projects together, but also kind of having the same thing going sometimes. And so we picked the dumpling bag because neither of us had ever done the provisional cast on or the Kirchner's stitch.
Oh, so two new techniques.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we thought we would learn something, and it didn't look overwhelming. And
Yes.
we were actually traveling going to travel together for a little bit, so
Oh, fun.
we thought we could bring it with us. So
Sister project.
I ordered 2 skeins of the linen yarn,
Ooh.
and so out of the 2 skeins, I made mine with 2 little red stripes, and she made a red bag with little green stripes.
Oh, that's so cute.
Just
I
matching.
love
It was
that.
fun. And we both started the project a couple times and consulted each other a lot. So it was a lot of fun, and it was a fun project. And we've decided they're perfect for like carrying around a sock project or something.
Perfect. Yep. Sock or a hat or just a small little
Yeah.
project.
Small
Yeah.
project. Yeah.
Oh, what a
It's
fun
also
way
great
to.
for going to the farmer's market because you can just put your wallet in there.
Yes. Perfect.
Yeah. Because I
Yeah.
also like that it doesn't stretch that much. So if you bring
Yeah.
it, for
I
groceries
did-
too, it won't just sag.
Yeah, I did block it once just by soaking it and then pinning it. And it really didn't take care of some of the issues that was it Tina, I think the first person to share mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then somewhere in the tips people were putting up, I saw to put it in a lingerie bag in the washer. So I did that. It did lose a little bit of color, even though it was cold water.
Oh, okay.
But
Interesting.
it really helped with the shaping of the bag. It really made it all even and smooth.
Well, it looks fantastic.
Instead of drying it, I put it on the block, on a mat again, and it worked out. So,
Yeah.
So thank you. It
Aw.
was a lot of fun.
We're so glad you and your
Oh,
sister
glad
did this
you liked
together.
it.
So fun. Thank you.
I'm still trying to get my sister to knit.
That
I gave her a
would-
kit and she hasn't tried it yet.
Oh,
I'm trying to add, looks like we have one more person.
Jess.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you.
You, nice to see you.
Hello.
I made mine in the warm copper.
Beautiful.
Yes, one
And-
more.
Such a good color. It's a quick knit, which was really nice. I could definitely see myself making a bunch of them. I added, just one little modification. I knitted a little pocket inside.
Oh,
Yes.
so fun.
Just for like my car key, just to like have it accessible. And yeah, that's it.
Well, it
Almost
looks super cute. And I love that you knitted a pocket because we've seen the
Thank
sewn
you.
pockets, which are equally cool, but knitting is really fun to pick up
Yeah.
those purl bumps and add in a pocket. That's great.
Yeah, it's pretty like seamless on the outside, which I was pretty glad about. And
Right.
it's a little Santalina sample that was in the sample sale.
Oh, perfect.
So fun.
I was
Yeah.
gonna ask like what color, because I like that it's slightly
Yeah,
different,
it's
so
like
you can just
kind of cute.
differentiate it for your
Like a
keys.
salmony, and it's showing up kind of like tan, but it's like a salmony pink on it. It's like pretty. I
It
like
goes really well.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you for knitting along with us and showing your bag. I love it.
It was super fun.
Yes,
Oh, I
thank
had
you.
one tip that I found useful. I don't know if it would be useful for other people, but I actually closed the bottom of my bag when I was a couple inches in. So that helped me like orient myself to like where the bag was when I was doing the straps. I found that helpful. And also I didn't have that long tail hanging up
Yes.
on the bottom. So it was kind of like just easier for me to,
Did you use another needle for that? Or did you put the
yeah,
ones you had on hold?
I don't
and
even
then
remember
did it?
now what I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I did the Kitchener. But there it is.
Yeah, it
Awesome.
looks great.
Yeah, so it was good.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Well,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
showing us and thanks
Yes.
for joining.
All right.
I think that's everyone we have for today.
I think so. Well, that about wraps it up. That was our finished object party for the Dumpling Bag Knit-Along. I can't believe it was super quick, but super fun and super creative. Yeah, we have the rest of the summer to enjoy our dumpling bags now.
Yes, and like usual, we're gonna get this meeting uploaded to YouTube as soon as it's been edited. It usually takes us, we've been doing them faster and faster, so hopefully we'll get this within the week.
Yep.
And if you're not already subscribed, recommend subscribing to our YouTube channel. Thanks for putting that in the chat. You'll get an alert if you're signed up for notifications as soon as we post it. So you can go back and see what we put. We have timestamps, so you can go back immediately to something in particular.
Yep. And well, we do have our Knit-Along archive page in the footer.
Yes.
You can always visit
Everyone
that to
playlist.
see everyone's bags, get some inspiration, learn more about those pockets, that's always in our footer if you need to check it out. And I see everyone asking, okay, we'll talk about the next.
I'm glad people are so excited for the next one.
Yes. Okay. Drum roll, please. Our next Knit-Along is the double thick pot holder designed by Daniela Taylor in our beautiful sun shower cotton. This yarn is so much fun. The dappled colors are so great. We have moderators going to put links in the chat to this yarn and the project. It's just like the dumpling bag where it's a super quick project. You could use this as a project bag for your double thick pot holder. It's garter stitch in the round. They're squishy. There's a convenient little hanging loop. And if you want to check out the designer as well, we have a link to her Instagram, Daniela Taylor. Go give her some love. But yeah, these are great for holding a hot bowl of soup, taking something out of the microwave, pan out of the
microwave is my favorite one.
Yes.
Whenever it's just too big to just get the whole thing.
Right, you can just grab it.
The soup.
And you can make a really nice gift set with these. They only take one skein. So they're a great project all the way around, and we're really excited to start that. So that'll be like keep an eye out for more information about that later this week, and that'll be end of July. We'll start really digging into this, but yeah, we're excited.
And just real quick, in case you're wondering why it's called a double thick pot holder, it's literally double-sided. This is what it looks like when it's open. And then once you're done doing it in the round, just the garter stitch, you fold it over.
Yep.
And you seam it.
It's perfect.
And we got a nice, really, literally double thick pot holder.
Yep. Very strong and keeps your hands safe.
Yes.
Yes. But
so hooray for summer knitting.
Yes!
Really into cotton this season.
Yes, cotton and linen. But Josh, you want to tell everyone where they could reach us if they have any questions?
Yes, we have multiple ways to reach us. We have multiple people monitoring the customer service at purlsoho.com email address. We also still monitor the Knit-Along at purlsoho.com email. If I recommend saving the Knit-Along one for whatever the most current Knit-Along questions are, but we have people looking at both, and we, as usual, we will always continue offering support, even though this one's done for now.
Yes.
We still want to see pictures. If you just haven't finished yet, you were waiting for this to finish, just whenever you want to make one, I'm still making them.
Yep.
We've got tons of stuff. And if you need more personalized support, we also have our one-on-one project help. This is completely free. You can just sign up for an appointment and you will be assigned somebody on the team member that will meet with you. And I know we've had people here that I've seen do those. So we love helping out people however we can, and hope to see you there.
Yes. Well, thank you all so much for knitting along with us, for participating, for making such cute bags, for submitting your photos. We really, really appreciate you guys being a part of this and for supporting our knit-alongs. We really loved seeing everyone's bags and talking some great tips today. But yeah, keep an eye out for more information on the next one. And yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you. I see. We appreciate you. I'm like, thank you.
Oh, we appreciate you. All right, you guys.
Yeah.
Until
Take
next
care
time.
now.
Bye.
Bye.